There are several basic rules or theories of performing improv in the IO style and to properly execute a herald. Of course, the first rule is that there are no real rules, that any rule can be broken if it benefits the scene. With that asterisk in place, there is a set of rules that can act as a guideline for the herald and a brief glimpse at Close's 11 rules for performing a herald helps illuminate his improv philosophy. 1. You are all supporting actors. 2. Always check your impulses. 3. Never enter a scene unless you are needed. 4. Save your fellow actor. Don't worry about the piece. 5. Your prime responsibility is to support. 6. Work at the top of your brains at all times. 7. Never underestimate or condescend to your audience. 8. No joke unless it is tipped in front that it is a joke. 9. Trust. Trust your fellow actors to support you. Trust them to come through if you lay something heavy on them. Trust yourself. 10. Avoid judging what is going down except in terms of whether it needs help, either by entering or cutting, what can best follow, or how you can support it imaginatively if your support is called for. 11. Listen. These ideas are vital to understanding why the form is central to theatrical practice, as well as the ways in which it has influenced and reshaped the way comedy is made. Let's take a look at some of the herald's underlying ideological tenets to better understand Close's rules and how the form works. Agreement. According to IO, agreement is the only unbreakable rule when performing a herald. Simply put, agreement means that the players on stage all agree the reality that is being created. In other words, they play along. If a player says, "It's hot on Mars today," everyone agrees that the scene is taking place on Mars. It does not mean that one has to blindly say yes to everything that happens. It means listening to what is happening on stage and agreeing to that reality. Agreement is between the actors, not necessarily the characters. For instance, if a player pulls out a gun, pantomimed of course, and says, "Give me all your money," an acceptable response is, "No, please don't kill me." Both actors are still agreeing to the reality of their characters. Likewise, it would be acceptable to play with, "My money is great, and I'd be happy to give it to you, but you've got to see my jewelry collection this way." The only wrong way to respond would be to say, "That's not a gun, it's your finger," or to totally ignore the line and go with whatever idea was initially in your head. Yes, and. The primary scenic building block, yes and, builds upon agreement by not only accepting ideas, but also adding to them. The basic concept means saying yes to your partner's offer and then adding new information to move the scene forward. Accepting and building upon the idea ensures the scene will continue progressing. Saying no or failing to add any new information stalls a scene. Players need to accept what is said on stage and go with it. There is no room for judging ideas or waiting for divine inspiration. Instead, it's best to take the idea presented and treat it like a fabulous idea and build upon it. Suspending judgment and silencing your inner critic are essential to improv. Players cannot judge their own contributions or those of another and stay present in the scene. The second players start judging, they remove themselves from the action of the scene and doom it to fail because they are no longer actively engaged in listening. Instead, they are thinking about the past or the future. They are also violating the trust that is essential to an endeavor as risky and as vulnerable as improvisation. Saying yes helps build trust, rewards risk-taking, and keeps the action moving forward. Silencing one's inner critic and shelving one's ego also sharply differentiate ensemble-based improv from stand-up comedy, where often the comic's ego and persona are the foundation for his or her act.